In May of 1979, Virgil Fox returned to the Riverside Church in New York City and gave one of the most celebrated organ concerts in all history. The Riverside concert wasn't the flashy, heavy organ experience, but was instead a full demonstration of Virgil's enormous artistic gifts. He played many favorites of the organ repertoire, and he also played orchestral transcriptions in a concert that lasted well over 2 hours. By this time, Virgil's prostate cancer had spread to his bones, and he played that day with fractures in his hands and his ribs. In the fall of 1979, Virgil would begin his 53rd concert season, a busy schedule filled with heavy organ shows and traditional concerts, all taking place around continued cancer treatments. Somehow, Virgil managed to find time to visit old friends, and there were many happy reunions. The 53rd concert season came to a close in the spring of 1980, and Virgil returned to his Palm Beach home. In spite of his rapid deterioration, Virgil was determined to keep his obligations for the upcoming 1980-1981 concert season. In the summer of 1980, Virgil began preparing for an appearance with the Dallas Symphony Orchestra, where he was to play the difficult Poulenc organ concerto. The rehearsals at home were not going that well. There were many days when Virgil was so weak that he almost had to crawl to the organ. His memory was not what it used to be, and he would often get lost in the music. And somehow those fingers just didn't want to work like they used to. The Dallas Symphony appearance took place on Friday night, September 26, 1980. Virgil was backstage preparing, and he was very frail and weak. His call came, and he slowly took the stage and lifted himself onto the bench. Miraculously, Virgil played with all the vitality he had always played with. The notes of the challenging Poulenc organ concerto were flying from his fingers. The music resounded with drive and rhythmic determination. I have played this concerto, and I can tell you, it is a physical and emotional workout for even a healthy person. A miracle took place that night. The hand of God instilled in Virgil a heavenly strength that allowed Virgil to deliver yet another great performance. After the concert was over, many of the orchestra members swore that they felt the presence of angels. It's through this musical miracle that God said to Virgil, "Well done, my good and faithful servant." Virgil was scheduled to repeat this performance the next night, but this was not to be. Too weak to go on, organist Lad Thomas took Virgil's place, and Virgil returned to his home in Palm Beach. Shortly after arriving home, Virgil found himself in the hospital. Now, Virgil had never been the type to complain about discomfort, and he had always been very reluctant to take painkillers. But now, when he needed pain relief more than ever before, it was the doctors who refused. The hospital staff was so afraid of making a mistake that they needlessly allowed Virgil to suffer. And to make matters worse, not even Virgil's closest and dearest friend David was allowed in his room beyond the ordinary visiting hours. So Virgil spent much of his time alone in tremendous pain. All of Virgil's friends found this situation to be completely intolerable, so they immediately contacted Virgil's regular physician in San Francisco, Dr. Bill Armstrong. Dr. Armstrong quickly made arrangements to come to Florida and take charge of Virgil's care. On Saturday morning, October 25th, 1980, Virgil's friends were gathered in his room, and Dr. Armstrong was on his way. David reached out and held Virgil and whispered into Virgil's ear the words of one of Virgil's favorite arias. Come, sweet death. Come, blessed rest. Take my hand and gently lead me on. Finding comfort, Virgil Fox took his final breath. Virgil's passing was first honored by his friends and family at his Palm Beach home. Later, a public funeral was held at the Crystal Cathedral. But sadly, that dream organ that Virgil had designed wouldn't be installed there for another 2 years. The Virgil Fox legacy can't be measured in words or accolades. It's the music he made and the musicians that he continues to influence that are the truest measure of his enormous contribution. There's one interesting little anecdote that I like to point out from time to time, and that is when Virgil Fox was in the world working, the organ in all its forms, pipe, electronic, classic, theater, the organ was at the height of its popularity with the general public. Virgil left us too soon, and once he was gone, interest in the organ began to fade. You see, Virgil was a great artist. But on top of that, he was a bigger-than-life personality. Virgil could have an audience eating out of the palm of his hand just by stepping on stage and saying good evening. Virgil will never be replaced. So it's up to us, the living, to keep the memory of Virgil Fox alive. Thank you very much.